Hello everyone. This is your master teacher Sheetal Katkade welcoming all my students to Maharashtra State Board sessions at YouTube channel of Vedantu Commerce. Yes, so आज हम बात करने वाले हैं about something very interesting. But before I actually start with something really interesting, let us first understand the name of the chapter and the subject that we are going to deal with. So Hanji, we are talking about grade 12th chapter business services types and the various associated
फ्रेश है ना एकदम फ्रेश 1 किलो कर देना जी
so sorry for this disturbance. Okay, so we are talking about business services where banking and e-banking is what we are going to address today. Where types of banks, what and why do we need these banks, and what is this e-banking wala concept is what we are going to understand in today's session. तो शुरू करने से पहले let me quickly tell you all about today's schedule. So here at 5 p.m. you are with me for the Akash sessions of SYJC. After this 6 p.m. you are going to have Sriraj sir's class where he is going to talk about journal again. Then 7 o'clock you have Mansi ma'am coming up with concepts for economics, and then at 9 p.m. you have Sheetal Chaudhary ma'am who's going to come up with Udan batches. Now Udan batches में वो क्या कर रहे हैं बैलेंस के बारे में कुछ सिखाने वाले हैं. With this quick update I would like to tell you, why do you want me to give you the update? तुम इतने स्मार्ट हो that you can get yourself updated, but how do you keep yourself updated? तो भाई stay home, get yourself vaccinated, and simple, like, share and subscribe, big deal. इतना ही करना है and then you would be updated with all the sessions, not just for today but also for the upcoming sessions. चलो इसी ही गुडी नोट पर हम शुरू करते हैं आज का सेशन. तो फटाफट हमको हमारे बच्चे बताएंगे that are you guys ready? Yes, Surat seems to be ready. Raj Lakshmi also seems to be ready. Superb guys, that is nice. Areva, I have my students here. Do you remember me? Of course, why would I not remember you, bacha? I do remember you. Yes, chalo. Now that all my students are super duper ready, let us begin with our session for your organization of commerce and management, where we are going to talk about business services, those services which are required for business. What are these services? चलो बात करते हैं. बिजनेस सर्विसेज क्या है, कौन से हैं, एंड उनमें से बैंक्स, बैंकिंग, e-banking is what we are going to address. So the learning outcome is all about business services types of banks and the associated information, which is all about today's session. When we say are you ready and you say oh hi Resham long time beta, I hope you are good. When you say you are ready, it means that you are supposed to be ready with a notebook and a writing instrument. चलो शुरू करते हैं. Business services. What do you mean by business services? Business services are those services which help in successful running of business. Okay, so far we've always been discussing about business, buying, selling goods, services, buyer, seller, profits, losses, risk. Lekin what is it without which this is not possible? Of course, you would say, ma'am, money is required. That's capital, finance. Ma'am, goods are required. Manufacturing के लिए machines are required. And then we are going to require people who are going to sell it. We are going to require people who are going to buy it. All this is fine. But the question here is, production हो गया, somebody wants to buy it, but how do I connect? That connect comes up with the help of business services. So all those services which help in successful running of the business are termed as business services. They are intangible in nature. They are heterogeneous, inseparable, inconsistent, perishable in nature, and require the participation coming from the customers. Now the question is, इतने सारे terms only for business service? No. Please make a note of it. Be it business services or even if it is only services, all my services, business services रहने दो या randomly हम जब services की बात करते हैं तब की बात रहने दो. All my services will always be intangible. Matlab, something which do not have a measuring unit for itself, something which do not have a quantity to be quantifying it. ऐसी चीजें जो है तो सही, लेकिन ना उनका रूप है, ना रंग है, नो there's no size, there's no structure, there is no physical existence. So services are intangible in nature. They are heterogeneous. Homogeneous and heterogeneous we've always studied when we were school students. 10th standard तक हमने इसको already पढ़ा हुआ है. Now each and every individual who is going to avail services, services को enjoy करना या services को feel करना is also known as availing services. So everybody who avails the services will have different set of expectations, and everybody who's going to deliver the service will also be delivering it differently. Heterogeneity is a concept arising from this understanding. Every client, every customer would be different and would be expecting something different, and that is where the deliverables also differ. So services are heterogeneous in nature. Furthermore, they are inseparable. Inseparable, something which cannot be separated. जुदा नहीं हो सकते. किससे जुदा नहीं हो सकते? होल्ड पे रखेंगे इसको. Let's complete that at the end. What is inseparable? I would explain in few seconds. फिलहाल let's move to inconsistent. Inconsistent, not everybody delivers the same quality, same way में. Every teacher has a different way of teaching. Every you could say doctor has a different way of treating the patients. Every dancer has a different way of training his people or her people. So income not going to be the same. They are perishable in nature. Why are services perishable? So the only and only reason is this moment. This moment when I speak and say, if my internet or your internet buffers, this moment, it's gone. फिर आपको वापस मुझे पूछना पड़ेगा कि मैम आपने कुछ तो बोला था, एक बारी वापस बोलो ना. So something which is already delivered as a part of service deliverables, if it is not consumed at the same time, if it is not availed, if it is not enjoyed at the same time, तो then हम उसे ही को वापस नहीं ले सकते. We will have to re-deliver it. The teacher has to re-explain it. I hope you have understood that how services are perishable. उसी ही टाइम पर अगर उसको कंज्यूम नहीं किया तो फिर गायब हो जाएगा. You cannot have services stored. You cannot stock them. Furthermore, there is an understanding. Inseparable क्यों है? There is an understanding here very clearly that services are to be delivered to the customers, to the consumers. तो जिस टाइम पर सर्विसेज को डिलीवर किया है, at the same time, if the customers are availing it, only then they will exist. ये तो perishable वाला पार्ट था. तो यहाँ पर बहुत क्लियरली समझ में आता है कि कस्टमर का पार्टिसिपेशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. यस, एंड दैट्स वेयर जो थोड़ी देर पहले हमने होल्ड ऑन करने के लिए कहा था, इनसेपरेबल वाला पार्ट. Without the participation of the customer, without the deliverables of the person who is giving the services, the participation needs to be from both the ends and needs to be together. It cannot be that I would deliver today and you avail it day after tomorrow. सर्विसेज में ऐसे नहीं चलता है. वो अमेजोन वाले अंकल आकर डोरबेल बजा के आपका पार्सल देकर चले जाते हैं. उस टाइम पर अगर आप घर पर नहीं हो तो उनकी डिलीवरी वाली सर्विस तुमने did not get that service, but the product that is there, and that is why we say that services are perishable and goods are not perishable in the times of deliverables. Is the meaning of business services all of you all? Certainly, if it is clear, all you need to do is give me a comment in the comment section. Chalo. With this certain clarity of business services ka meaning, I take you to the features which I have already explained to you all. The very first feature talks about intangibility. Services do not have a shape. They do not have a structure. Services do not have any particular size. There is no color, there is no taste. Services are intangible. Next, it person who is delivering, okay, person who is going to avail the service, okay, are connected and need to work together. एक है, दूसरी पार्टी नहीं है, या एक पार्टी अभी दे रही है सर्विस, दूसरी पार्टी बोलती है हम बाद में इसको अवेल करेंगे. नो, सर्विसेज आर इनसेपरेबल इन नेचर. थर्ड वाला बोलता है इनकंसिस्टेंसी. कंसिस्टेंट, बी सेम. इनकंसिस्टेंसी, everybody who is going to deliver the service is going to be delivering it in their own style, in their own way. Like I gave the easiest example, when I teach, I would be teaching in a particular manner, in a particular pattern. सेम चीज जब आपके स्कूल में या आपके जूनियर कॉलेज में आपके टीचर्स ने सिखाया होगा, it's going to be in a different way. Inconsistency, it's going to be different from different people. Next one talks about perishability. If it is not consumed at that very moment, उड़ गई, you will not be able to avail that service of that moment immediately. If it is not consumed, if it is not enjoyed, तो वो चले जाएगा. You will have to again ask for the service. That services cannot be stored, they cannot be stocked, they cannot be put together in one डब्बा and refrigerate. हम उसको refrigerate करके नहीं रख सकते हैं. And then the last one is about non-transferability. What is non-transferability? Let's take an example. You want to go and attend some party. You don't have time. You want to go and attend some party. You do not have time. You wanted to have the dress being collected from the dry cleaner to wear it for the party in the night. तुमने एक ड्राई क्लीनर को अपना एक ड्रेस दे रखा है, उस ड्रेस को कलेक्ट करना है बिकॉज उस ही ड्रेस को पहन के तुमने शाम को पार्टी के लिए जाना है. Is it necessary for you to go personally and collect the dress? Or can you hand over the bill to someone and in your place somebody can go and collect the dress? Hi Gagan. Yes, of course, somebody else can collect that dress on behalf of you. But can I say that if you had to go and get a checkup done from the doctor, वैक्सीन लगवाना है, जिन लोगों ने वैक्सीन नहीं लगाया, मुझे बताओ, अगर तुमने वैक्सीन नहीं लगाया है और तुम बोलोगे अरे यार मेरे पास तो टाइम ही नहीं है, तो मम्मा आप जाओ ना मेरी जगह पे वैक्सीन लेके आओ. कैन यू टेक दैट सर्विस विद द हेल्प ऑफ मम्मा गोइंग एंड टेकिंग द वैक्सीन ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ यू? Certainly no. Non-transferable services is something where anybody who wants to avail it and anybody who is giving it, ये दोनों भी लोग वहीं पर होने चाहिए. And most importantly, services cannot be transferred from one person to another person. If you are not feeling well, you will have to go to the doctor. On behalf of you, nobody else can go to the doctor. Is this clear? Are all these features clear to you all? Gagan, 5 p.m. is the time for the class, beta. आपने लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब नहीं करा हुआ है क्या? चल, अब बिजनेस सर्विसेज समझ में आ गया, मीनिंग समझ में आ गया, हमको फीचर समझ में आ गया. अब हम बात करेंगे अबाउट द टाइप्स ऑफ बिजनेस सर्विसेज. व्हाट आर द वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ बिजनेस सर्विसेज? रिमेंबर, वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट सर्विसेज, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट बिजनेस सर्विसेज. द वेरी फर्स्ट वन इज बैंकिंग. The next one is insurance. Then we have warehousing, followed by communication. In the due sessions, we are going to cover up all these types one by one. तो आज के सेशन में हम क्या बात करने वाले हैं? वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट बैंकिंग इन टुडेज सेशन. लेट्स बिगिन. व्हाट बाय अ बैंक? बैंक मतलब क्या? हैव यू ऑल विजिटेड बैंक्स? If you all have visited banks, then you need to tell me that yes, I have visited a bank. I'm sure everybody's visited a bank, है ना? इसमें तो कोई सवाल ही नहीं है that you've not visited a bank. Cool. Now that you all are saying कि हाँ हमने तो बैंक विजिट किया है, तो क्यों विजिट किया है, किस लिए विजिट किया है? I'm not going to ask you all these things. But now let's understand. You visited a bank as a customer. तुम बिजनेस नहीं कर रहे हो, तुम एक कस्टमर की तरह गए थे. तुम्हारा एक अकाउंट है एंड यू वांटेड टू पुट इन मनी और यू वांट टू विथड्रॉ मनी और व्हाटसोएवर इट इज. बट हाउ इज दिस actually going to be helpful to the businessman is what we are going to study today. चलो बेसिक लेवल पर what is a bank, ये मीनिंग समझते हैं. The term bank comes from a French word banco, है कि नहीं? है कि नहीं, मतलब मैंने लिखा हुआ है वहां पर, so you can read it. The term bank comes from a French word banco, which means bench. Again, our textbooks have these beautiful French and Latin. Do we need these terms? 1 मार्क का सवाल है, 1 मार्क का सवाल है, इसको रट लेने का. Moving ahead, when I'm talking about a bank, it's nothing but a financial institution. एक ऐसा institution which is going to deal with finance, where this finance is basically dealt by either depositing, बैंक के पास तुम जाके पैसे दो, बैंक रखेगा अपने पास, या तो फिर by taking advances, loans की बात जो करते हैं हम लोग. So when I'm talking about a bank, it's nothing but a financial institution which deals with the deposits and advances and other related services. So we would be talking about checkbooks, the ATM cards, the credit cards, the debit cards and the other associated additional services. बात करेंगे. फिलहाल के लिए इतना समझ लो that bank is a financial institution which deals with deposits and advances and other related services. Banks provide various services related to money or financial requirements of the customers. जैसे so bank will help you when you have to trade, shares में deal करते हो, banks will help you. In the same way for businesses also, banks, remember, they allow the subscribers to subscribe through the bank. Banks can also act as underwriters. So what are all these things? All these things are simple understanding that banks are going to provide different types of services, and these services are either for monetary grounds, that's financial requirements, or maybe some other related services. Okay, so I hope this is clear to all my students. Hi Nishant, hi Manveer. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं and now let us discuss the definitions. तो अगर we have to define banking system, तो then it is defined as accepting or investment of the deposits of money from public. What does this mean, ma'am? It is so critical. मतलब इतना आड़ा टेढ़ा क्यों है? सिंपल सी चीज है. You are working, you are earning. When you earn, you have some funds. These funds you need to save somewhere. What do? You go to the bank and you save them. बैंक के अकाउंट में जो तुम्हारे पैसे होते हैं, बैंक हैज एक्सेप्टेड the deposit which you have kept in the bank. कि I will keep the money in the savings account and I will get some returns. Interest pay करेगी बैंक मुझे. So accepting the deposits from the public. But what is it going to do by accepting? So bank will take money from you, keep it with itself, and anybody else who needs, it is going to give this money to them, charge them, and have the entire circular flow of money. So तुमने पैसे रखे, मुझे लोन चाहिए था, मुझे बैंक ने दिए, मैंने इंटरेस्ट पे किया, बैंक ने उसमें से आपको आपका इंटरेस्ट पे किया, बाकी का इंटरेस्ट अपने पास रखा, and this goes on and on and on. I am going to repay the entire amount as well. So undoubtedly, all the money is going to be paid back to the bank. So you are also going to get your money back. Is this clear to you all? Is this clear to you all? Yes. And now all these transactions are done with the help of checks, or maybe the drafts, or maybe the orders, or maybe any of the other ways in which the transactions can happen. जैसे these days online NEFT कर लो, RTGS कर लो, IMPS कर लो, Google Pay कर लो. What is all this? Modern ways of having transactions happening. That's about banking in general. But अगर हम बात करें about banks, the definition given by Indian Banking Regulation Act 1949 states that bank क्या है? Bank is any company which business of banking in India. मतलब banking functions हैं accepting and granting वाले, additional services वाले. So any institution, any company which is transacting under these services made available, then it's going to be addressed as a bank. Such a sweet and a simple meaning and definition. So ये याद रखना है that it's as per Indian Banking Regulation Act 1949. Okay, chalo. Now we move on to the next part. That's the various types of banks. What are the various types of banks? First, central bank. Central bank ko I have observed a lot of people confusing with central banking institutions of our country, and that is why we say it is the Central Bank of India. So total control matlab kya, ma'am? What does it exactly do when we say that it has a total control? So let's understand. It talks about framing the banking policies. So when we say अरे FD में तो आजकल बहुत कम rate of interest मिल रहा है, अरे the securities which were traded, वो बैंक में जब मैंने पैसे रखे तो सिक्योरिटीज में ज्यादा पैसे मिल रहे थे, बैंक के सेविंग्स अकाउंट में कम इंटरेस्ट मिल रहा था. The amount of loan that you take, उसके ऊपर जो इंटरेस्ट पे होता है by any of the banks is going to be almost uniform, because that is also decided by RBI. Framing the banking policies. Next, RBI has the power to issue the currency. So कितने नोट्स कितने रुपए के छपेंगे, कब छपेंगे, एंड कहाँ कहाँ सर्कुलेशन में जाएंगे, ये सब कुछ RBI के पास इंफॉर्मेशन होती है. Why? Because RBI only has the power to issue the currencies. Furthermore, it acts as the banker's bank. Banks का bank. All the banks का head, apex, is nothing but central bank, which is RBI in our country. तो सारे banks का total control of the functioning is with RBI. Last but not the least, this is the government's bank. So this is not a private institution, this is a bank which is government's bank. वो सारे के सारे government से associated financial transactions के साथ ही में जो भी बाकी के ट्रांजैक्शंस इन टर्म्स ऑफ फाइनेंसेस होते हैं आर टेक्निकली मॉनिटर्ड एंड टेकन केयर बाय गवर्नमेंट की बैंक, दैट इज नथिंग बट RBI. I hope this is absolutely clear to all my students. Chalo, assuming that this is all clear for all my students, now let us quickly move to the further type of bank, and this bank is the commercial bank. अब ये commercial bank नाम से पता चलता है ना, commercial, a bank which is going to have all its functionalities being taken up for commercial reasons. So a commercial bank plays an important role in the economic and social development of a country. कैसे? We'll come to it. First, let us understand what are the various types of commercial banks. The very first type of commercial bank is basically a public sector bank. Public sector bank. What do you mean by a public sector bank? Those banks which are existing in India but are not private banks. Government के banks. कुछ example याद आ रहा है? Are you all able to connect with any of the public sector banks? कोई ऐसा नाम याद आ रहा है कि पब्लिक सेक्टर गवर्नमेंट वाली बैंक है यह, ऐसी कोई बैंक का नाम? So when we are talking about a public sector bank, बहुत सारे examples हैं, but the most commonly and easily remembered or recollected one is SBI, State Bank of India. State Bank of India is a public sector bank, but a public sector commercial bank. This is that bank which operates all the functions of allowing people to maintain deposits, having the loans being granted, giving the credit facilities, having e-banking systems, and the other associated service, but is run, owned, and managed by the गवर्नमेंट. तभी तो हम उसको पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक कहते हैं. Now, hi Ritu. After understanding public sector, the next one is a private sector bank. A private bank क्या होता है? Common sense है मैम. Those banks which are not run, owned and managed by government but by private individuals. But कहानी में twist. If I talk about private sector bank, here in case of commercial banks, India के ownership में आने वाले all those banks whose owners are, or all those banks जिसका head office is in India, are called as private sector banks, of course, which are not taken care by the government. So those banks which are not run by the government but instead by private individuals but are Indian are addressed as private sector banks. Ma'am, example, world famous है भाई, HDFC बैंक. अब इसके बाद वाला आएगा another category, that is foreign banks. I know you will be having some confusion here. I would come to that confusion clarity. Just give me a couple of minutes. What do we mean by foreign banks? These are again private banks only. लेकिन unlike private sector, these are those banks which are run, owned, managed by individuals who are not the citizens of our country. तो वो banks जो प्राइवेट तो है, दे आर नॉट रन, ओन्ड, मैनेज बाय द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, लेकिन also most importantly, these are the ones who have their head offices, their headquarters outside India. Example, Standard Chartered Bank, or you could say HSBC Bank. So all Indians but not government ka are private sector, and all those banks which are not Indian are privately owned by somebody and have their headquarters in some other country are called as foreign banks. I hope this one of you. इससे ही से हम अब आगे बढ़ते हैं. The next category, next type of bank is a cooperative bank. Cooperative banks क्या होते हैं? In India, cooperative banks are registered under, मतलब basically I understand one thing, all those banks which are registered under Cooperative Societies Act would be called as cooperative banks in India. Most importantly, these are regulated under the Banking Regulation Act. Remember the Banking Regulation Act of India 1949. So इस एक्ट में बैंकिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस के लिए जो भी रूल्स, रेगुलेशंस, प्रोटोकॉल्स बताए गए हैं, all the statutory conditions are to be adhered by these cooperative banks also. So even if they are registered under Cooperative Societies Act, they are going to follow all the rules, regulations and the statutory conditions laid down in Banking Regulation Act of India. Furthermore, the main aim of these cooperative types of banks is to provide credit to the economically backward people, to those people who are financially not strong, to the farmers and to all the small scale units. So helping the needy, providing service to cooperative societies, banks would do that. What are the various types of cooperative banks? The first type talks about primary credit society. Primary credit society के बाद the next one that we have is a district cooperative bank, and the third one that we have is a state cooperative bank. तो अगर नाम के ऊपर आप गौर फरमाओ तो you would understand primary at the village level, districts of course at the district level, सो प्राइमरी से ऊपर डिस्ट्रिक्ट, डिस्ट्रिक्ट से ऊपर स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव banks. So that is how the hierarchy goes. So of the various cooperative banks, you will have primary level, you will have district level, and you will have state level cooperative banks. That's how we complete cooperative banks के बारे में का information. We have heard names like Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, Sahkari Cooperative Bank, Saraswat Cooperative Bank, Maharashtra State Cooperative Bank, and a lot of other cooperative banks is what we all are aware of. Let's move to the fourth type of bank, that's regional rural bank. Regional rural banks are those banks which were established in the year 1975, and they are sponsored by first the central government, second the state government, and third by the private banks. अब ये तीन जनों का contribution से the RRB, that is regional rural banks, are established, where the contribution percentage is also given to us. 50% of the contribution comes from the central government. 15% is arranged by those state governments basically. So by those governments of which these banks operate. So अगर महाराष्ट्र स्टेट में है तो महाराष्ट्र स्टेट गवर्नमेंट उनको पैसे देगा, गुजरात है तो गुजरात का गवर्नमेंट देगा. And the remaining 35% is by the banks, any of those private banks which are existing in India. That's how the capital is arranged by regional rural banks. सिंपल सी चीज है कि ये फंड्स क्यों दिया जा रहा है, ऐसा क्यों, मतलब why are the governments helping them? सिंपल सा चीज है, they are the ones who take care of having these funds utilized for the development of the rural areas. So RRBs mobilize the deposits primary level par from the rural and the semi-urban areas and provide loans and advances mostly to the small and marginal farmers, to the agricultural laborers and the rural artisans. So helping the needy again comes up here, where the contribution is from central government, state government and the banks, and they would the funds to help the poor farmers, the small scale business men, or you could say the artisans who are not really having great source of income. Is this clear to you all? Chalo. Now moving to the next category. What is this next category talking about? The next one talks about development bank. जैसा नाम है वही उसका काम है. These are those financial institutions that provide medium term and long term funds for the business firms to have their development. Let's see some functions. First, providing medium term long term funds to the businesses for the purpose of expansion and modernization. एक्सपांशन बोले तो एक ब्रांच थी, अब 2 ब्रांचेस हो गई, एक सिटी में थे अब 4 सिटीज में पहुंच गए. Growth, expansion. Modernization, initially when the business started people were working mechanically, labor से काम किया जाता था. Now they are installing machines and equipments. Modernization. So when we are talking about expansion, when we are talking about modernization, funds लगते हैं for the development, and that's where these development banks come into picture. Is issued by public limited companies. We all know, we all have studied about joint stock companies. Now when a joint stock company is having subscription of shares happening, तो पब्लिक जब सब्सक्राइब करने की बात करता है, बट जब कंपनी को ये भी डर रहता है कि भाई whatever target is given, if that is not achieved, I might not get the permission to subscribe and to have, not subscribe, but then to have my shares listed and have the transactions coming up. तो हम मार्केट अंडरराइटर्स को कंसिडर करते हैं. वी गो एंड वी हैव अ वर्ड विद अंडरराइटर्स, वेयर अंडरराइटर्स की कैटेगरी में देयर इज अ स्पेशल प्रोविजन फॉर दीज बैंक्स आल्सो. So the development bank which the company feels is the right one, they choose one of them, sign them as underwriters, and these banks would say, okay, you need not worry, any of the stocks which goes unsubscribed, we would subscribe for that stock. तो क्या हो रहा है, कंपनी को एस्टैब्लिश करने के लिए डेवलपमेंट बैंक ने काम किया. Next one talks about for the purchase of the debentures and purchase of the bonds. So again, the bank is going to provide the service while there is going to be debentures ka ya bonds ka transaction. Now you already know what debentures and you already know what bonds are. So that's how development banks play an important role. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं टू द नेक्स्ट, दैट इज अ स्पेशलाइज्ड बैंक. स्पेशलाइज्ड बैंक नाम अगेन स्पेशल कैटेगरीज के लिए. These banks cater to the requirements and provide overall support for setting up businesses in specific areas. बोले तो whenever I am talking about small scale industries, whenever I'm talking about requirement of funds to establish or run or manage these small scale industries, SIDBI comes in my mind and it should come in your mind also. Why? जरा देखो, Small Industries Development Bank of India. So SIDBI is that specialized bank which is established with one simple motive. भाई जो भी स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज हैं इंडिया में, उनकी डेवलपमेंट के लिए फाइनेंसेस प्रोवाइड करना. स्पेशलाइज्ड in providing finance, helping, supporting the development of small scale industries in India. Second specialized banks is when we talk about trade in terms of imports and exports. Exim Bank, export के लिए and import के लिए, the bank which helps right from the transactions and conversions of the currency to acting as an agent who is going to be a connectivity वाला bank between the importer and the Exim Bank के बगैर कुछ नहीं हो सकता है. That's why it's specialized bank for exports and for the imports purpose. Next वाला category is talking about NABARD. What is NABARD? National Bank, वो देखो लिखा हुआ है वहां पर, National Bank for the Agricultural and Rural Development. Those banks which are established with the motive of agricultural and rural development. So again, a specialized bank, a specialized provision for anybody who has any sort of concerns with respect to agriculture, or anybody who is from a rural area and expects some kind of development happening there. NABARD is the place where they can call for specialized banks. Moving to the next one is the exchange bank. Okay. Exchange bank यहाँ पर is going to play an important role. The exchange bank as well as large commercial banks facilitates foreign exchange transactions. So if you are into imports and exports and you want the transactions happening in different currencies, तो Exim Bank तो है. But if you are a normal trader, you're not into imports and exports, but you are actually having the funds required in different currencies for your regular business activities. That's the time. What are those business activities, ma'am? ये तो बताओ. Letter of credit. You already know all these terms, huh? So any kind of letter of credit, any kind of foreign transactions in foreign currencies, so financing the foreign trade transactions, discounting of bills of exchange, remittance of dividend, that is payment of dividend, interest and profits ka distribution is where exchange bank comes into picture. We all know worldwide, whenever there is any kind of business transaction happening, the very common currency or the very commonly used currency अपने दिमाग में क्या आएगी? The dollar. अब ये जो डॉलर होता है इंडियन करेंसी टू डॉलर, कुछ ना कुछ तो चेंजेस के लिए हमको कोई ना कोई तो बैंक के पास जाना पड़ेगा. That's where you go to these exchange banks. Moving to the next is the investment bank. Investment banks क्या होते हैं? These are those banks which are going to provide financial and advisory assistance to their customers. So financial support, financial consultancy या advices देना. Their clients generally include business firms, and government organization. So investment bank is going to guide, is going to have some kind of consultation done to the business, or you could say to the business organizations and government organizations. Investment banks facilitates, helps in smoothly mergers coming up and acquisitions being done. So merger and acquisition क्या होता है? जब एक छोटी कंपनी को बड़ी कंपनी उठा लेती है. So छोटी कंपनी को बड़ी कंपनी जब उठा लेती है, there is going to be an acquisition. When two companies come together and work collectively, it's a merger. So एक छोटी कंपनी, एक बड़ी कंपनी, or maybe any two companies में से when one is already losing its identity and the other company takes over it, we say it is an acquisition. Merger is when two merge together to become one identity. So ऐसे टाइप पर जब भी when businesses are coming together, they need the help, suggestions, guidance, advices from investment banks. That's why it is one of those banks which help in businesses. कुछ examples अगर हम देखें, so these are just some examples just for your what do you say understanding. ऐसा नहीं है कि यही सिर्फ है या इनको रट लो या इनको याद कर लो. These are just few of the examples, and for your information I have put in for y'all. Now once that you go through them, we would now move to the next type of bank, savings bank. You, me, mummy, papa, chacha, mama, dada, dadi, everybody uses savings bank. Savings bank का main objective ही savings होता है, where it's going to encourage the people to save their money. मतलब इंडिया में we have a small piggy bank which is चावल का डब्बा, आटे का डब्बा, दाल का डब्बा. But the point is, these dabbas don't pay you anything for keeping that money in that dabba. मतलब I have not heard about any mummy, any chachi, any masi, any dadi, any nani coming up and saying, oh, you know what, I had kept 500 ka 4 notes in my chana dal ka dabba, and after 2 months when I opened, there were extra notes in it. जी नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होता है. But सेविंग्स बैंक बोलता है, भाई ऐसा डब्बे में मत रखो, come to us, keep it with us, and we would help you earn some interest on your savings. Examples of such banks could be postal saving banks, commercial banks, cooperative banks. So we've already studied commercial banks. HDFC, SBI, Bank of Baroda, Axis Bank, all these are commercial banks का example. Cooperative banks also we've already spoken about. The Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, PNB Cooperative Bank, or you could say Maharashtra Cooperative के साथ साथ थाने जनता सहकारी Cooperative Bank. So all these banks are the examples of savings bank. Now we move to the next topic for today, and that is e-banking. What do you mean by e-banking? ये e वाला term ना, email, e-banking. What is this? Electronic banking. So when we are using this electronic banking facility, it simply means that we are having banking facilities used but virtually, not physically. Under e-banking, banking operations are done with the help of mobile phones, with the help of computers, with the help of systems. बैंक में नहीं जाते हैं. We use probably the websites or maybe the applications of the banks and have all those transactions taken up, which we once upon a time used to go visit, stand in queues and then get it done. So e-banking is virtual banking with the help of computers. Moving ahead, what do I understand for the benefits of e-banking? First, ATM. Every बैंक provides a card to us. वो कार्ड हम बोलते हैं ATM कार्ड, डेबिट कार्ड. Of course, there are debit cards and there are credit cards and a lot of other things. But a very basic card given to every account holder is an ATM card. What is ATM का full form? Please don't tell me anytime money. It's not anytime money. What is ATM का full form? I want coming from your end. मैं तो बता ही दूंगी, but I want you all to tell it to me first. So after completing all these points, I would look into the comment section. Thank you, Ritu. Means a lot. At the end of the entire explanation, I am going to give you the full form of ATM. But until then, comment section में आप लोगों से भी मुझे चाहिए what's ATM. Okay. But full form की जगह पर meaning I can tell you right now. So what do you mean by an ATM? ATM is basically a machine where you are given a card which has a magnetic strip, which has SIM card जैसे दिखने वाला chip, where all your account details are mapped to it. So you go to the ATM machine, you insert the card, you put in the PIN, you ask for money, you type in that money, then the ATM machine checks with your account. If that money is available in your account, धड़ सारे notes आना शुरू हो जाते हैं with that small covering on that vending wala thing. And then you pick up and then you count and then you put it in your pocket, you take the card and then you go out. ATM. That's one of the services of e-banking. So now you do not need to go and stand for hours in the bank, queue लगा के खड़ा होने का जरूरत नहीं. Next is about a debit card. Slightly different from an ATM. ATM card is basically for the ATM person. Debit card के साथ हम shopping भी कर सकते हैं. But आज की डेट में हम हैं मॉडर्न बैंकर्स. तो बैंक ने भी सोचा why give a card which is only to withdraw money and why give a card which is for shopping purpose. Let's merge them together. So these days all the people who are having ATM, they are having basically ATM cum debit card. The people who are having debit cards are having ATM cum debit card again. So both these cards clubbed together have multiple functionalities, like one, withdrawing the money. सेकेंड, अगर आप एटीएम मशीन यूज करोगे तो आपको वहां पर काफी सारे ऑप्शंस दिखते हैं, तो वहां से यू कैन विड्रॉ मनी, यू कैन डिपॉजिट मनी, यू कैन ऑल्सो हैव ट्रांसफरिंग ऑफ द मनी, यू कैन ऑल्सो हैव पेमेंट ऑफ द मनी डन. बट इफ यू डोंट वांट टू गो एंड विजिट दैट मशीन वाला थिंग, तो देन घर बैठे बैठे आपको लगता है that I want to shop something, I want to buy something, I want to pay the bill, you can use the card number, the details, the PIN number and get it done. That's how ATM and debit cards work. Next one is about, so debit card, ATM card का scene क्या है ना, anything that's there in the account, you have the accessibility only to that much amount. तो आपके अकाउंट में अगर 1,00,000 रुपया है, अरे बाप रे बाप, 1,00,000 में कितने जीरोस होते हैं? How many zeros do we have in 1,00,000? ऋतु, उसके लिए तो वेट करना पड़ेगा, because if I say yes it is right or if I say no it is not right, तो other students will get to know about it, no? So let's hold on, let's wait for others to answer कि full form क्या है ATM का. Meanwhile, give me the answer to this. My simple सा question is, 1,00,000 में कितने जीरोस होते हैं? By the time you are calculating, let me explain why am I asking you this. Simple. If you have a credit card, your bank treats you little special. How little special? Bank बोलता है this credit card facility these days is given to anybody who has been never ever defaulter, who's good balance in the account, and most importantly, a person who's always paid all the bills, has never done anything which is against the laws or against the ethics of banking system. तो आपके अकाउंट में अगर 5 zeros वाला पैसा है, that is if you have 1,00,000, 2,00,000, 3,00,000, 5,00,000, 6,00,000, 7,00,000, whatever it is, credit card allows you to not disturb that amount and still shop. बोलो. So credit cards allow you to have shopping done on credit basis, transactions taken up on the credit basis. Of course, they give you a deadline to pay them back. And of course, if you don't pay it on time, you miss the deadline, you are charged. And let me tell you, the charges are way higher than the regular ones. सो क्रेडिट कार्ड मतलब संभाल कर यूज करने वाली चीज है. अगर एक बार भी बिल पे करना भूल गए So you are going for a toss. Your account balance to be charged against that mistake of yours. So that's how we understand credit card. Of course, credit card ke saath associated there are a few other things, but we would be talking about this when we talk about banking ka different functions. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं NEFT. अब NEFT क्या है? NEFT is basically having your electronic transferring of the fund nationwide. तो be it from a bank of HDFC to a bank of SBI, from an SBI bank to ICICI bank, from an ICICI bank to a Punjab National Bank, doesn't matter. NEFT is going to help you have these transactions happen and it's going to be electronically done. तो आपको जब भी कोई ट्रांजैक्शन करना है, you will simply have to go on to the net banking or you could say the application, the phone app, and then वहां पर NEFT पर click करके put in the details and then get the fund transferred to the party. Next one talks about RTGS. NEFT and RTGS का one and the major differences. NEFT can be done for any amount, small, big, whatever amount. But RTGS compulsorily requires a good amount, a big amount. अब ये big amount क्या होता है? We would again be discussing about this in the upcoming class. जब हम functions की बात करेंगे तब हम वापस इसके ऊपर discuss करेंगे. Meanwhile, again, if you all are smart enough, you all can definitely put in your answers into the comments part, and I would tell you if you are correct. मोटा मोटी NEFT. Nationally, you can have your fund transferred electronically, but it could be at any time 2 घंटे में पैसे credit. RTGS is a good huge amount required and there are slots for RTGS to execute the functionality. तो पूरे दिन में कभी भी मन करेगा, गूगल पे नहीं है वो, पेटीएम नहीं है वो, that obby it's going to be transferred. No. RTGS will be having its own slots. If you have the transaction executed between those slots, fair enough. नहीं, तो you will have to wait till the slots are opened up. I hope this is clear. Moving ahead. National Electronic Fund Transfer. AK's vlog. क्या बात है? ऋतु, क्या ऋतु? My name is Sheetal Katkade. Now talking about IMPS. IMPS is as like as instant money transfer होता है. Instant. अब ये instant money का जो transferring होता है, that is as like as having your Google or having your Paytm wala transactions. But the only difference is Google Pay में या any kind of digital cash that we use, you will have to scan that QR code or maybe you need a phone number or something. IMPS में you need to have the account details of the person where this account generally is supposed to be of the same bank. You generally should understand that the same bank accounts में IMPS किया जाता है. Next talks about mobile banking. अब ये इतनी सारी चीजें मैंने explain कर ली. We all know about mobile banking. So you have an application. Using that application, you can have your checks ka, you can have your account ka, you can have your balance ka, you can have your transfers ka. All the data management at your finger, as simple as that. Last but not the least, the net banking. All these things that we've discussed, when you do not use a phone app but instead you log on to your system, laptop खोल के बैठ जाओगे, system desktop लेकर बैठ जाओगे, तो laptop होने दो या desktop होने दो, when you are using www and then the bank's whatever site it is, you are using net banking. Okay, is this clear to all of y'all? Oh, Mamta, why will I not be happy? I am super happy, मेरा बच्चा. लेकिन यार मैंने देखा ही नहीं था ना that you scored 40 on 40. Great, but of course we need to have her congratulated. Congratulations, मेरा बच्चा. Very, very proud of you. So nice. Keep it up, and I would always expect it to go on like this only. चलो इसी गुडी गुडी नोट पर हम अब बात करेंगे अबाउट वेदांतुज इंटरैक्टिव लाइव सेशंस. अब देखो ये कैसे हो गया यहाँ पर. माय डियर लवली किड मैसेज्ड मी अबाउट 40 on 40, but unfortunately I couldn't read that because I was not paying attention. I was not paying attention to the comments. Why? Because I was busy explaining on YouTube, man. But if you are a part of Vedantu's interactive live sessions, we teach you while we talk to you. We teach you while you talk to us. And in this talking, we also test you for your performances. And how do we test you? By conducting quizzes. आज देखो इतना सब पढ़ लिया. We spoke about banks, we spoke about types of banks, we spoke about e-banking, but I did not ask you all questions where you could actually answer. Asked you all, only one child gave the correct answer. What was that answer? What was the question? वो भी किसी को याद नहीं है. The question was, what is ATM, automated teller machine? Ritu, congratulations. So the point here is that if you are a part of live sessions, you would have high-end quizzes.